We got some interesting information about people's 401ks, and it doesn't look too good. So let's take a look and see if we can figure out what needs to be done. Hey everybody, my name's AJ, and this is The Wealthy Idiots. Today we're going to be talking about the information that Fidelity released about 401ks. They serve over 21 million people and have a lot of information about 401ks, and they release some of that data every year. We also want to cover how do we measure, and so we understand what a good amount is in a 401k. We want to look at what information is relevant to us, and then we want to see what it is that we can do about it so that we are all prepared for the future, financial independence, and retirement. But before we get into it, please make sure you like and subscribe. Get down there and give that like button a little tap, little tappy.
Tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
If there was a whole bunch of free money sitting on the table, would you take it? Well, it looks like the data doesn't support that you would. There's a whole bunch of free money sitting on the table with 401ks, and people aren't taking it. I understand that 401ks aren't perfect. They do tax you when you take the money out the end. You're forced to take the money out because the government wants to make sure they get their taxes. And in my humble personal opinion, any money saved for your future should be tax-free when you put it in and when you take it out. Because let's be real, if someone is incapable of taking care of themselves in the future, they can't work anymore, their retirement ran out, it becomes the taxpayers who have to support them. So if we make it so that people are capable of setting themselves up for success, and we encourage people to set themselves up for success, I think as a nation, we'll be much better off. But that's neither here or there. How can we tell what amount of money we need at what points or what intervals in our lifetimes to make sure that we're on the right track? Well, there's something that came out that helps us out a little bit. And some of my commenters made some good points about this. This is more of a guideline, a general idea, and not something that should really be followed to the letter. But it does help us understand what it is we're trying to accomplish for retirement. And this is called the 4% rule, otherwise known as the Trinity study. So what was done was data was taken from every major point in US history since like the 1900s. Most people's retirement was about 30 years. That's the expected goal to be able to retire. So if you took any 30-year period over that from 1900s until today, so the idea is you took from 1900 to 1930, then 1901 to 1931, and you took any period, you would be capable of withdrawing 4% over that 30-year period without ever running out of money. The stuff that this doesn't cover is what happens if your retirement is longer than 30 years. That can be problematic. What happens if we hit an economic disaster worse than the Great Depression? That could also happen as well. And there are ways to kind of avoid these problems. So the 4% rule in itself is not the only key, but it does give us a good indicator of what we should be aiming for in order to retire. So if we take the total amount of money we have invested, let's say it's this much, and then we take 4% off the bottom every single year, hopefully it's growing and we're taking out 4%. Now, if you were to go the other direction, 4% goes into this 25 times. So if we were to take this amount of money, let's say we knew how much we wanted every year, we multiply that by 25, and then that gets us where we need to be in our actual retirement. So for most of us, let's say we could survive off of, we kind of want to calculate our minimum survival rate. Like, let's say it's about $50,000. In retirement, we want at least $50,000 a year. A couple things we have to remember is that we're no longer investing in retirement, we're just withdrawing. So we don't really have to worry about the 15+% we're investing for retirement anymore. You might have things like your house paid off, which means that your house payments dramatically drop. Now you just have to worry about things like repairs, insurance, etc., taxes, but you don't have to worry about that mortgage anymore. So, if let's say $50,000 is what we're aiming for, we would simply take $50,000, multiply it by 25, and that's the amount that we should have at retirement in order to make sure that we can withdraw $50,000 every single year. That just happens to be $1.25 million. That's what the average person has to at least try and accomplish in order to make sure that they have a good, solid retirement and financial independence by the time they get there. Like I said, this is a fuzzy goal, but it's a good goal that we could start off with to see how we're doing, and we're going to use this as our benchmark to see how other people's retirements are progressing and how our retirements are progressing to make sure that we can actually get there. If you're just new to kind of looking at financial information and kind of measuring the data, there's two kinds of basic data points that people point out. Averages and medians. Averages are pretty basic. Let's say we have 5 people. 4 of them have moderate incomes. We have $35,000, $40,000, $45,000, and $50,000. But the last person is a doctor, and that doctor makes $500,000. So if we were to add up all their incomes and then divide it by the number of people, the average income would come out to be $134,000. Well, as you can guess, that doesn't really adequately describe what most people are making in this environment. $134,000 is way higher than what these 4 people with the moderate incomes are actually making. So the second figure that we want to make sure that we take a look at is median. What median is we find the middle person, and that middle person is the median. Their income is the middle of the pack. So in this case, our median income and our person in the middle is $45,000. So you could say the median income of this entire group is $45,000. Now the doctor still makes a whole bunch of money, and everyone else makes, somewhere around $45,000, and it's much more descriptive about what the larger group is actually making in this case. The reason I tell you about this is because we're going to look at averages and medians for 401ks, and you're going to kind of see real quickly the problem with looking at averages. All right, let's look at the Fidelity Table now so we can see what everybody has in their 401ks. For people from 20 to 29 years old, the average in a 401k is $14,600. It's not a lot of money, and the 20 to 29 year olds have a long ways to go to get there. The good news is you have the most opportunity to get there. You have plenty of time left to invest and plenty of opportunities to get that compound interest. However, the median for this age group is $4,500. That means most people in Fidelity have about $4,500. And there's a few people probably skewing that number for the averages way out there that have a significant amount of money. This isn't too good. Like $4,500 is not going to get you to retirement. Well, the good news is you have a long ways to go. You have about 35 plus years left until you hit the average retirement age of 65 years old. So if you start investing now, all you would have to do is invest $350 per month, and you would be set for your retirement. I know that seems like a lot of money, $350, but the good news is 401ks are matched. You only have to put in to get to $350 for your half. If the employer's matching the other half, they're going to cover the other half, and then that's a lot less money you got to start putting away. The next age group, 30 to 39, the average is $51,000 and the median is $18,000. Now you guys, you're in my group right here. I'm almost out of that group, but right now, this is our group right here. We have a lot less time to invest. We've got to start up in this game. It's not good enough. Our employers are matching it. Get your money into there. $18,000 is not going to get us to that $1.25 million range. So how much do we have to invest in order to get there? Well, we have less time. We have about 25 to 30 years left of investing. For 30 to 39 year olds, you got to start putting in at least $900 a month, or at least half of that if you're taking advantage of that employee match. That's quite a bit more money than our 20 to 29 year olds, but we got to start catching up. We got to get to the point where we can be self-sufficient and financially independent. Next, 40 to 49 year olds. You guys have a special place in my heart because I'm almost there. The average is $120,000 and the median is $37,000, guys. That's not good. Like, we gotta really step this game up. You have a lot less time to invest. You're looking at about 15 to 20 years left of investing till you want to get to retirement. And we don't want to be working well past 65 years old when that becomes way harder to actually accomplish. We want to live life, do things, see grandkids. So you got to start getting on it. So what do we got to start putting in per month in order to make sure we could get to that financial independence stage? For you, it's jumped significantly. You got to get in at least $2,900 a month. That's a lot of money. We're starting to get to the point where the 401k is getting maxed out. We're probably well past the match at this point, but if you haven't been taking advantage of that match, get that match in. That'll drop the $2,900 down a little bit, so you're not paying $2,900. But at this point, you got to start working, saving, maybe reducing your lifestyle, finding another job, start putting money away to get to that point where you could be financially independent, or we're going to be in trouble, guys. And our last age group, 50 to 59 year olds. You're right there. You got only a few years left until retirement. The average for this age is $206,000, but the median is $62,000. That's not great. You're almost there. You should be at 1.25 million or close to it. Without taking advantage of the match this whole time, maybe not putting money in your 401k, maybe listening to people on TikTok telling you that you shouldn't be putting money into your 401k because, somehow duplicating your money isn't the way to go. I don't know how to explain that one, but so you got about 10 good years left to start saving, and it's going to take a lot. At this point, if you want to retire between the age of 65 and 70, you're going to have to start putting in $5,700 a month to get to that point. It's going to take a lot. $5,700 a month is like an entire income for people. You could take advantage of some of the employee match. There is catch-up plans at this point, so for Roth IRAs and 401ks, you can add more money in order to try and catch up. You're going to have to really hustle to try and get as much money as you can if you're going to hit the point where you're going to retire at 65 to 70 years old. Otherwise, you're working well beyond that, and it's not looking good. All right, that's the end of the data. It's not looking too good for most people. 401k is pretty low, and the fact that there's money just sitting on the table and people aren't just scooping it up just kind of seems a little bit crazy to me. At least, if anything, today, before the day's over, go get to the point of employee matching in your 401k or your 403b in your retirement plan.
Just do it!
You gotta do it. There's just too much money sitting out there for people to snag, and they're not snagging it. I know that seems crazy, but if that's one of you, get on it now and start getting serious about hitting retirement and financial independence. Now, this data doesn't show us a couple of things. The things that it doesn't show us are some people don't invest in 401ks because they believe they can do better than even the match. Real estate investors tend to be the biggest group that does that, and they're not entirely wrong. They can do better somewhere else. So their 401ks may be much smaller because they're not contributing and they're planning their retirement based off of real estate investing. The other thing that this doesn't cover is things like, what about people who have pensions coming? And it doesn't include things like Social Security payments that might be coming out. It doesn't include other retirement funds like Roth IRAs or just invested money generally. It doesn't include things like your house, like if you have, paid off house and you plan on moving somewhere and then cashing some of that money in. Like a lot of people move out of the Bay Area because their homes are worth millions, and they move to some place where homes are like $400,000, and they have now all that money as well. So it doesn't cover a lot of these things. And I know 401k is just one bit that is on the table for us to take advantage of, but these numbers, regardless of that, are still way too low. We got to really pump these up.
I'm gonna pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Your 401ks, with the matching and everything that's available, should be getting to at least half of your retirement if we count the minimum amount. Remember, the $50,000 was the minimum. We weren't trying to go like crazy and say like, oh, we're going to retire off $1 million income a year. We were just trying to say, like, in order to survive, what do we have to be at? Your 401k should at least cover half of that minimum survival amount. And it's nowhere close right now. People are not on the right track. So hopefully you took those savings amounts, figure out what age you are. I know for some of us it's harder to calculate that as you get further away from your birth date, but figure out how much you need to start putting in. Hop on over to the Wealthy Idiots website. We have a compound interest calculator that'll let you see how much you put in and how it'll grow over time. And it even lets you put in a withdrawal rate, like the Trinity study. You can put in 4% and kind of see how your income might look at the time of retirement. Go figure that out, and then figure out how much you have to put in each month, and then get serious about putting that money in each month so that you can be financially independent. Sorry for the negative news. I know that it's not all, like, we can't all be happy and excited around here. Fidelity released the data, we're just presenting it, but hopefully it put a fire under some of your butts to go out there and get it done. So, please like and subscribe. More people need to see this information so that they can be financially independent like us, and I can't wait to see you guys next time.